Tune into news across the galaxy where they talk all things LA Galaxy with the Nag Boys. Let's start nagging.
And we're finally here. We finally reached the end of the road. Good evening to you wherever you may be, and welcome to a special edition of News Across the Galaxy, the midweek show. Like I said, we have finally reached the end of the road with two teams that have taken two completely different paths to get to MLS Cup 2025. Now that the combatants are set, we are on the verge of witnessing what could be one of the most intriguing MLS Cup finals in history. As usual, we have two brilliant panelists whose teams have taken these two different paths to the Cup. First, coming out of the pink corner, hailing from the Eastern Conference, El Club Internacional de Fútbol Miami, who have bulldozed their way through all their playoff opponents by a margin of 17-4, scoring at least 4 goals in their last 3 matches. Representing Inter Miami tonight, coming at us live from his private suite at still under construction Freedom Park and making his return to the midweek show. Please give a warm welcome to the co-host of Las Garzas CF and occasional co-host of the Battered Herons podcast, Daniel Solano. How you been, Daniel?
Good. Been fantastic. Look, man, it's great to be back. I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad to get to banter with a fellow MLS fan or MLS, let's say, a person who covers the MLS on the other side of the almost world, right? Because he's in Vancouver, I'm down here in sunny but cold tonight, South Florida. And look, my other team, Nacional, won a championship this last weekend. It would only be the right thing for Inter Miami, the other team that I cover, to seal the deal on Saturday against Vancouver, and we're going to get into it right now.
Wow, look at that. Daniel comes out swinging, throwing some haymakers there. Next, coming out of the white and blue corner, hailing from the Western Conference, the Vancouver Whitecaps Football Club, who have run the gauntlet, slaying some powerful demons along the way, while surviving one of the most tense MLS playoff matches in recent memory. Representing the Whitecaps tonight, coming at us live from his palatial igloo deep in the heart of Stanley Park. He's been on the show so many times now that he's practically a nag boy. The co-host of the Terminal City FC podcast, Nathan Durec. Hey, buddy!
How's it going, guys? Yeah, Vancouver, I don't think anyone has expected us to be here. If you take a look at the beginning of the season, I think the most gracious pundits had us maybe sneaking into the playoffs. Most had us down to the very basement. But, they also had San Diego down to the basement, and kind of just look what happened in the last game. Vancouver, Miami. I think this is a matchup that a lot of people have been waiting for, especially when we started getting into the half part of the season. We started to take a look at all these permutations and combinations of what could come up. I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited.
Thank you very much there, buddy.
I'm not your buddy friend. I was late.
You were late, but that's okay. You know what? I'm not your friend, guy.
There you go.
Welcome, gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. As I have been reminding all of our guests who have joined us for our playoffs episodes, Shakespeare once wrote, "Uneasy lies the head that wears a crown." You have seen what winning 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I don't know where the 6th one is. What winning an MLS Cup does to a club. You've seen how the playoffs can drive a person mad. Are you sure you really want to win an MLS Cup? Guys?
Absolutely. For me and for Inter Miami, for their fans, for the organization, it's the absolute goal for this year. Obviously, you crashed out of the Champions Cup and unfortunately against your rival now in the final, right? if we remember correctly, it was Vancouver who knocked us out in the semifinals of the CONCACAF Champions Cup, and Inter Miami wants revenge. So not only do they want to lift the cup because it's the last and only thing that they would win this season, but it's the trophy that Messi has always wanted. It's the trophy that he's always coveted, the Phil Anschutz trophy, the MLS Cup, and Inter Miami is ready to win one on Saturday.
I think this would just be the absolute culmination off of a fantastic season for the Whitecaps. Yes, we did meet Miami earlier in the season, back-to-back, and we did win that game to help them, slowly find their way to greener pastures away from CONCACAF. But these are two very, very different teams from what that once was. I think Miami has become a much better structural and organized team. I think Vancouver has finally, been able to get past a lot of the injuries and the sicknesses and all that was kind of plaguing them in the latter half of the season. They've added a few fresh pieces, and I'm excited because I think that what we saw at the earlier part of the season, there's not a lot that we can take from that and apply to this game here. It's going to be a free-for-all.
Well, before we get into all the MLS Cup talk, we have to address a very serious situation down in South Florida. It obviously captured the attention of not only MLS fans, but sports fans across North America and parts of the world. And of course, we're talking about the Inter Miami MLS Cup season ticket holder fiasco with the allotment of tickets. I know your co-host Danny from Battered Herons and Battered MLS fans reached out to me, and he asked me, "Hey Edgar, did you ever have any issues getting tickets to MLS Cup? As a season ticket holder?" And I said, "No. In fact, even in MLS Cups where Galaxy was not even involved, like in 2008, I was able to get my tickets and my seats for that championship game." And he mentioned to me the issues that were going on with Inter Miami, how season ticket holders were not going to be able to get their own seats. And I found that to be fascinating. I guess it was like an issue that hadn't been broached before, or at least mentioned, because then we heard the same thing happened with Atlanta United. An LAFC fan hit me up and said, "Hey, the same thing happened to us, but it wasn't as dramatic. I was still able to get seats in my area." So it's happened before. But I don't think it's happened in a match of a high-profile match like this involving, like two high-profile players like Thomas Muller and Leo Messi. Of course, it's going to get a lot more attention, right? So, Danny, what happened? First of all, can you break it down? And also, were the supporters able to get seats? Because we know that there's fans that have been there, every week in the supporters groups, and then you can pass it over to Nathan, because I'm curious to know if any Vancouver fans will be able to make the trip down to South Florida.
Yeah, so I mean, let's start off with the issue, right? The issue doesn't stem with the fact that the season ticket holders couldn't get their seats. It goes further back than that. Inter Miami's front office has, and sorry for saying it, but screwed the season ticket holders year after year after year, many times, and the season ticket holders are absolutely sick of it. So a lot of them expected something like this to happen, right? Something like Inter Miami pulling this like they've done in the past. They did it for the CONCACAF Champions Cup, where they didn't get to sit in their seats. They did it for Leagues Cup as well, until they noticed that they weren't going to sell any tickets, and then they were basically begging fans to come. So Inter Miami has faced this issue before with their fans, and they've been at odds with their fans about this and many other things in the past. And so, there's a lot of back and forth between the fan base and the front office in terms of tickets and prices and the fact that everything in the stadium is so expensive. So it goes a lot deeper than just this one game. But look, some folks were able to get tickets. I know that in the supporters groups, they got allotments of tickets, and those fans were able to get tickets at a fair price. I know that other fans like Danny, my co-host, who have season tickets and are season ticket members for a very long time, they were able to get a passcode to get a pre-sale before it went on sale to the public, but they didn't necessarily get a chance to get their seats. So that's what they're upset about, and rightly so. Rightly so. You've been sitting in that seat all season. You want to continue to sit in that seat for the playoffs. And I mean, I'm a season ticket holder for the Miami Heat in basketball, and I have my seats through the entire year, including the playoffs and everything. So I understand their frustration now. But were fans able to get tickets? Yeah, but at an astronomical price.
Real quick, Nathan, before you go on, I want to ask, do Inter Miami fans have to pay a seat license for their seats, or is that not included in the season ticket holder package?
No, I don't believe they pay a seat license. They just pay a very, very large price for their tickets.
No, understandable. Okay, Nathan?
I haven't heard of anyone that's had problems from Vancouver. I believe that there was a certain amount of allotment that was for any sort of fan that was going to make the trip down. Obviously, it's a very big distance. You're not going to get the entire supporter fan base that is going to go down, but there is going to be a few. The only person I know that had problems getting any sort of passage into the game was actually our photographer, who unfortunately just got their credentials denied for the game. But as far as fans go, I think it's been okay.
Well, notwithstanding, hopefully everybody that has been there supporting your teams is able to find a way to get into the stadium, because I always tell people, you go to these matches throughout the entire season. You go to Open Cup matches or Canadian Championship matches in your case, Nathan,
Right.
and there's something special about going to an MLS Cup. I know, Daniel, you guys celebrated a supporter shield, right? But there's something just different about being at an MLS Cup match. I always tell people it's like you turn all the excitement and all the anticipation up to 100, and everybody just feels drunker and happier and louder, and it's a lot of fun. So looking forward to one of the biggest parties South Florida has hosted in a while. I know you guys are used to partying big, but this is going to be pretty exciting. So looking forward for you guys having a good time. Nathan, real quick, you mentioned before we came on that at BC Place, Vancouver Whitecaps is hosting a watch party. We had heard 13,000 earlier today. You and Joshua said it had gone up to 16,000, and now what is the target?
Right now it's 16,000, but every time they sell out whatever allotment that they've released, they're adding more and more sections to what they're making available. They're not going to stop right up until the very day of the match. They're even going to have gates open for anyone or any stragglers who haven't pre-bought. So we don't know what the full number is going to be, but there is a bit of a number that they are watching, and that happens to be the attendance at Chase Stadium. They think that they can actually beat the attendance at MLS Cup with the BC Watch Party.
Wow, wouldn't that be something, right? And we went from a year ago where you were driven out of your own stadium because of was a motocross, right?
We were driven out of our stadium twice last year. One of them was motocross. The other one was the Home and Garden Show.
Well, you know what? You had an opportunity to host MLS Cup, but at least you get to have a huge party inside BC Place. I've been there. It's a beautiful stadium.
Is that going to set a record? Most upset fans in a stadium to go home?
No. You have to go to a hockey match in Canada for that to happen.
I mean, the Canucks fans have rioted twice now at the end of the Stanley Cup Finals, right, Nathan?
Hey, I was born in Edmonton, so I was in Edmonton. I think it was in 2006 when the fans rioted there, and I remember they were literally if you put your foot on the road, they were basically grabbing you, throwing zip ties on your hands, and throwing you in a school gymnasium overnight. I was in Vancouver when the riots happened there. So I was like, out of the 3 riots that have happened in Canada when it comes to hockey, I've been ground zero on 2 of them. The other one I wasn't born for. So
hold on, Nathan, you're not an Oilers fan, are you?
Yes.
He is.
Yes.
Oh,
no!
So you double hate me because the Panthers
Don't tell me
gave
Florida.
it to you. Of course, the Panthers gave it to you last year.
I know. Hey, one of these days we'll realize that we might need to get a goalkeeper, and we'll be okay.
Hey, at least you haven't lost to the Oilers 4 years in a row like we did, okay?
Yeah. That's
LA
true.
Kings
That
over
is
here.
true.
All right, fellas. So, when the season began, and you guys kind of talked about this right before we came on, but I want to hear it right now. When the season began, was an appearance in the MLS Cup final a dream or an expectation?
It
Well, I
was
can
an
start with
expectation. Oh, go ahead, Nathan.
no, yeah. I was going to say for us, it was a pipe dream. I mean, we found out after Vanni Sartini got fired that the team was now up for sale. So we didn't even know if we were going to have a team in a year, let alone make it to where they are right now. We hire a manager out of Denmark, Jesper Sorensen, who had a very good career as a player and a coach in Denmark, but we didn't really know much about him here, on North American shores. We also had questions about players and injuries and how are they being affected by this pending sale and what's going on. So when the season started, we started to feel really good until game 3 happened and Sam Edakube ends up getting a season-ending injury, and there goes one of our star defenders. We go a little bit further and Ryan Gauld is out for 7 months. We go a little bit further and Veselinovic gets a season-ending injury. We've had all of these moments of adversity out of the way where at any time the Whitecaps could have capitulated. It would have been understandable, and we would have said, you know what, you rose to the occasion, you went as far as you could, and we'll celebrate with a beer in our sorrows. They've always just said, no, let's just go and it's next man up. So to go where they are right now, I don't think anyone expected this, but there started to be belief forming, I would say probably July, August, especially in August when Thomas Mueller joined the club. Then we thought, okay, there's something special happening here.
I mean, for Inter Miami, it's always an expectation, right? When you have Messi and Suarez and Busquets and Alba, and then you add a Rodrigo de Paul mid-season, the expectation is always there, right? You have a decent CONCACAF Champions Cup. Of course, you get upset by Vancouver, who was playing really, really well at the beginning of the season, but like Nathan said, that was at the beginning of the season. Inter Miami has changed drastically since that point. They had a very good showing at Club World Cup. And, then they had a mid-season drought. And you had the Suarez suspension and all the drama. And then, little do you know, that was kind of a blessing in disguise. Suarez getting suspended in the playoffs because it kind of forced Mascherano at his hand at starting Silvetti and starting Tadeo Allende, who's been an absolute genius in this playoffs. And I'm sure you're going to ask me about that at some point, so I'll save it for then. But yeah, it's forced Mascherano to then start these guys, and Inter Miami's now playing at a much faster pace. They've surrounded Messi with faster players so he can get the ball to them, and they look absolutely unstoppable in this playoffs. And honestly, I just don't see any team right now in the MLS that would stop Inter Miami in any form of game.
And Nathan, Daniel mentioned the CONCACAF Champions Cup.
Yeah.
Vancouver obviously, beat Inter Miami and made the final, where the Caps lost under strange circumstances to Monterrey. But surely that run must have given you like a bit of a preview, a bit of an idea of what this team was capable of, even if it was that early on, right?
The run gave us the idea of what this team was capable of, especially of a Canadian MLS team going down to Mexico and having to win games there. It hadn't been done before, and Whitecaps did it twice. It wasn't 3 times lucky, unfortunately, and that game was they just weren't prepared. I don't know if they were naive or what it was, but they right out of the gates, they were not prepared for that spotlight. But they've now felt it. They understand what that means, and the hope is that they've been able to learn from that and kind of have this never again mentality and take that onto MLS Cup.
You're too kind, Nathan. I actually sincerely believe that Monterrey was involved in some skullduggery in that match. We've seen it before when it comes between Liga MX teams and MLS teams in Champions Cup finals. But yeah,
Well, we
I
felt
mean,
that after the match when we came back and we had 18 of our players on injury reserve because of food poisoning.
no surprise there, Daniel, right?
That was 2 years in a row, right? Because it happened to the
Yeah.
Columbus Crew when they went the year before. They played a little under the weather as well, so I'm not surprised that it happened. And it was no accident, Nathan. It was absolutely no accident.
Whitecaps actually talked to Columbus Crew before the game. They brought their own chef, but they couldn't bring their own food, so there was a problem there. And so, yeah, they knew that something was going to happen. It was just a matter of where in the chain was it going to happen. And yeah, we had to play the next game right after that. It was a Cascadia match against Seattle. We played with kids, and we still ended up winning 3-0. So
Man, that's when you go down to the convenience store and just buy a bunch of crackers and milk, and that's what you have to eat for the next 24 hours.
whatever you can get out of your emergency bunker.
Right? All right, fellas. So let's get into the issue. What's been the buzz among fans and across your respective regions as your teams are preparing for MLS Cup this week? I told both of you when you logged onto the studio, you got that MLS Cup glow to you. Um, let's start with you, Nathan. I know Vancouver has the Whitecaps. I've always said there's like they have fans, they have a support, but the Canucks, right? It's Canada, and you have so much. Hockey's so prevalent there, but Vancouver is a little bit different, right? The team has won a championship before in 1979, but now there's an opportunity to do something similar, maybe even bigger. What's the buzz been in Vancouver this week?
It's been bubbling. It's been absolutely electric. You've gotten to see a glimpse of it when the games are happening and seeing what the fans have been like in the stadium, especially like say the game against LAFC and how absolutely alive that building was. But it's happening on the street as well. Uh, Everyone's kind of talking about it. Even you're getting the people that really only follow hockey that are starting to talk about soccer, which is really really nice to see. I mean, we're having a lot of fun trying to educate them and tell them offside is actually a line that moves. It's not a blue line on the on the grass, but that's always fun. The other thing that's also really helping the Whitecaps right now is how poor the Canucks are doing. The Canucks are possibly fighting for, they could be finishing last place in the league for all we know. It's just not been a great season for them. So you're getting a lot of fans switching eyes. The stadium's only across the road to the next stadium, so it's not a far trip.
And Daniel, obviously, Inter Miami is hosting MLS Cup. Although the match will be in Fort Lauderdale, I can only imagine that the whole of South Florida, that southeast corner of the state, must be really excited for this match. Or is it different? Because I've heard that it's really hard to get people's attention in an area that has so many options for sports.
Yeah, unfortunately, right now in Miami, it's Art Basel week. It's Miami Art Week, so there's a lot going on. Not only the MLS Cup final, but there's a lot of events that Inter Miami has staged throughout the week down here in South Florida. There was a few players, Yannick Bright, Ian Frey, and Noah Allen went out to a school and were with some youngsters today, promoting the MLS Cup and doing some community service, which is fantastic. And there's different events going on throughout the week leading up to the MLS Cup on Saturday. But it's really, I mean, just another week down here in South Florida with major events going on, and a lot of stars all over the place. So nothing special down here. Not as crazy as Nathan's having it over there in Vancouver.
Yeah, you touched upon a subject I was going to ask you guys upon, and that is that every time LA Galaxy has hosted an MLS Cup, the week is full of like special little events, things happening around the city involving the players, not just from one team but both teams. And Nathan, I was curious to know. You mentioned how everybody's excited, right? They're getting a lot of attention, but have there been any specific events, anything really going on down there? I mean, up there in Canada regarding the Whitecaps?
Not really. It's more just been word of mouth. It's a lot of it is mirroring kind of what 1979 was, where even when the players won soccer bowl in 1979 against Tampa Bay, they had to come back to Vancouver, and they were told on the airplane that, oh, there's going to be people at the airport, then we're going to take you downtown, there's going to be a parade. And the players were kind of embarrassed because we're like, is anyone even going to show up? They get downtown and there's 150,000 people that are waiting for them. So it's the word of mouth that's kind of going. It's starting to feel reminiscent of that. It's just slowly bubbling to what could possibly be towards the very end.
So, this is a question for you, Daniel. With all the issues presented to season ticket holders, right? And we mentioned the supporters. Um, what what kind of mood are we to expect for Saturday's match? Because the reason I bring that up is because uh, let's use the NFL as an example, right? NFL fan bases are pretty rabid about their teams, but when it comes to a Super Bowl, A lot, it's very hard for like the real hardcore fans to be able to get a ticket and sit there and cheers. A lot of times, it's a muted kind of experience, and I'm just curious to know um, if the supporters, the real supporters, are able to get in there and make some noise, or is this going to be a little bit more quiet with a lot of different types of a different type of audience than we're used to at these matches?
Look, I can't speak for the rest of the stadium, but I can speak for the section where La Familia sits, where the supporter sections are, and that's going to be an absolute party. I was there in the supporter section in the last game when we hosted the Eastern Conference Final against New York City FC. It was a party then. An hour before kickoff, the fans were in there with the bombos, with the drums, with the cymbals, with everything, and they were chanting away. An hour and a half before the game, they were in the stands hanging their flags. So it's going to be exactly like that in the supporter section. Now, for the rest of the stadium, I don't know, right? I know a lot of people that are going that haven't been to an Inter Miami game before in their life, but they're just fans of soccer and they want to be a part of this experience. And I know other people who have been fans since 2020 and have been season ticket holders since then also going. So it's going to be a mix of those types of people. But there's one thing that's going to be for sure. It's going to be an absolute party in the supporter section. It always is every single game. And the La Familia really, really represents for Barras Bravas in the MLS.
And conversely, Nathan, I know you mentioned how that you're having the big party at BC Place, and we kind of talked about driving supporters. But will the Southsiders or any of the other Vancouver supporters have like a visible presence at the stadium that you know of?
Oh yeah, like the supporters will definitely be there in numbers. Southsiders, Vancouver Albion, South Sisters, all the other ones that exist. They're going to be loud. They're going to be there just in full form, like they normally would, as if the pitch, or as if the game was being played right out in front of them.
And Danielle, I have a question for you because we're talking about Chase Stadium, right? Actually, it's the old Fort. It's in Fort Lauderdale. It's the old stadium, the old Lockhart Stadium where the Fusion used to play, and even before then, it was used by other teams as well. But was the possibility of hosting MLS Cup at Hard Rock Stadium ever brought up, or is this something that they don't want to touch?
Never, never. I think, unfortunately, it costs too much to host a match there, and I don't think that MLS could sell out the MLS Cup 70,000, and that would be a bad look if you could only sell out the lower bowl and have a lot of patches in the upper bowl. I just don't see that match getting 70,000, 75,000 folks, and I think Inter Miami did the right thing by hosting it at Chase Stadium, where the fans are a lot closer to the pitch than they would be at Hard Rock, and the atmosphere is a lot more intimate, and it'll be a lot better for the fans. It'll be a lot better for the players, and it'll be very intimidating for those Whitecaps players that are there, because it's going to be very different than how it was back in April when they came down to Miami. These fans are really want that trophy, and they're going to leave it all out on the stands.
So, Danielle, when it comes to Inter Miami, the focus is obviously always on Messi and his pals. But Tadeo Allende, who came on loan from La Liga Celta de Vigo in January, has scored 8 goals across 5 playoff matches, including at least a brace in the last 3. He's also scored 11 goals during the regular season. Can we call him Miami's secret weapon?
That's a good question, Edgar. That's a good question. But no, I think the secret weapon has been Toto Silvetti, right? He signed at the latter part of the summer transfer window, and he came in kind of quiet and didn't really not fit in at the beginning. He just wasn't comfortable, just getting his feet wet. But ever since he's come back from the U20 World Cup, where he had a fantastic performance, he's been on fire, right? He started for Suarez when Suarez got suspended in that Nashville game, and he never looked back. He scored goals, he's assisted, he's looked very well with Messi. And I think really the X factor in Inter Miami squad is Matteo Silvetti. Tadeo Allende is just doing what we expected him to do since the first time that he got here, and that's score goals. And if he would have been on this tear the entire season, he probably would have won the Golden Boot in MLS, because if you remember, Edgar and Nathan, Tadeo Allende had many one-on-one opportunities that he either put wide or put right to the goalie during the season, and again, if he would have nailed those, he would have had 20 plus goals this season, not just 11.
And that's why he's still not in La Liga, right?
No, but he could be in Argentina next year. Apparently, River Plate really wants him, so we'll see if Inter Miami keeps him. I threw out a video on my social media about that, about him earning his spot because the performance that he's had in the playoffs. He's played fantastic over the last month and a half, and I think he's earned a spot on this team next year if the price is right.
It kind of reminds me of what we saw from Dejan Velic last year in the playoffs. Throughout the entire season, a lot of people were questioning whether or not LA Galaxy, could have gotten a better forward. And then he just caught fire in the playoffs and obviously led the team to championship glory. But let's talk about another team that picked up somebody important during the season. And let's talk about Vancouver Whitecaps and offensive threats. Thomas Muller has commanded a lot of attention since joining the club, and rightly so. He scored 8 goals in 11 matches, including the regular season and playoffs. But then you have Brian White, right? We can't forget about him. He has 18 goals across the regular season and 2 playoff matches to lead the team. But Nathan, how has Muller's addition influenced the club's attacking scheme and attitude when they relied so heavily on White in the past?
I mean, Vancouver for the past couple of years has always been a 1-2 combo: Brian White, Ryan Gauld. It was always those two, and everyone else kind of just played to whatever their strengths were. You've seen a lot of other players that have stepped up, and I name off a laundry list of players. Sebastian Berhalter, who was basically the Whitecaps Player of the Year and what he's been able to do this year. Ali Ahmad and Emmanuel Sabi on the wings, just to name a couple of others. Jaden Nelson. Put all that together, and this was a good team before Thomas Muller already came into the squad. But he adds you that extra 5%, and it's kind of intangible. You don't really know how to quantify it, but it just gives you that extra little belief, that little bit of and a little bit of organization. And even though we see how he can contribute in goals and kind of what he does in terms of organizing the attack, what I really like about Thomas Muller is how he's organizing the defense. This is a guy that is constantly talking on the pitch. He never shuts up, and he doesn't need to, because he is always pointing everyone. He's telling you where the next tackle is going to be, where to press, where to move forward, when to come back. I think what has really, really helped the Whitecaps in terms of really becoming very, very stable has been the addition of him in off-the-ball moments. We always knew that he was going to be able to do something when it came to the attack. It's every other bit of this game that's really, really impressed me.
Gentlemen, we know that both teams can put up a lot of goals pretty quick. But which team has the edge on defense? And that's the first question. And as a follow-up, who will your teams task with trying to curb the attacking onslaught from the other team? Let's go with Danny first.
So I think let's answer the second question first, because that'll be easier. Inter Miami's been pretty consistent with their back line. They've started Ian Frey when he's healthy, and he is going to be fully fit. So we'll see. That's been pretty much the question mark in the starting 11 for Inter Miami. Is it going to be Frey or is it going to be Chelo Wiegand? And then it's going to be Maxi Falcon, Noah Allen, and Jordi Alba. That's going to be the back four for Inter Miami. I don't know if you saw the starting 11, the best 11 of the MLS Cup that came out today on the MLS X, but they had a mix. They had Jordi Alba and Noah Allen on the left side, and then they had the Vancouver 2 players on the right side. So I don't think anybody has the edge. I think both teams are so lethal offensively that it's going to come down to that 1 or 2 mistakes that that either defense is going to make in the game, and can that team capitalize on the defensive mistake? And that's really what it's going to come down to in terms of who's going to be responsible in the back line for Inter Miami. It's Maxi Falcon. Maxi Falcon is the guy who gets the most touches on the ball on the defensive end. The attack builds through him every time. You'll see Rocco Rios Novo, who's played fantastic over the last month for Inter Miami, filling in for an injured Ustadi and then taking over the starting role into the playoffs. Everything goes through from Rocco Rios Novo to Maxi Falcon, and then they play out through him. So that's how Inter Miami is going to look to play out and defend. And again, I just don't see either team having the edge. I think both defenses are pretty even.
Yeah, I got to say, I kind of agree with Danielle on this one too. Whitecaps defense is I mean, we've talked about the Whitecaps defense throughout this entire season in terms of the laundry list of injuries they've had to center back. They had at one point, they had absolutely no healthy center backs in the entire starting squad. They went out and grabbed 2 center backs, and both of them got injured right away too. One of them still hasn't even played a game. They're dealing with some positives. Tristan Blackman will be back for this game after serving his red card suspension in the previous one. That's Defender of the Year. Definitely a great guy to have in the back line. My guess is that he's going to be paired alongside Ralph Priso. Priso's not even a center back. He's a defensive midfielder that had to get repurposed. Before, like halfway through the season, the only thing that people knew about Ralph Priso is that he gave up his number 13 shirt to Thomas Mueller when he came, took the number 6 that was now vacant because he was a midfielder, and then we moved him over to center back because we just needed a body to put there. And he has been phenomenal. I don't know if it's just the fact that, he never knew what he actually was, but he has completely repurposed himself as a very, very high quality center back. And he hasn't even played 10 games at that position yet. Most likely on the wings, you're going to have Ocampo on one side. You're probably going to have Matias Laborda playing left. I would go with Laborda over Tate Johnson right now, just because I think Laborda sits back a little bit more defensive, where Johnson likes to get forward, and he's going to leave gaps in behind him for someone like Messi to really, really exploit. My only concern is that someone's going to have to take Laborda by the shoulder before the game and just tell him, just be calm. Don't get that early yellow card, which you are very well known to do, because you know that that is something that Miami is going to know about you and going to work to exploit against you. So just be calm. The other X factor, and it's not really an X factor because it's another thing that I think the Whitecaps are really known for, is how they're good defensively before you ever get to the back line. And that's with Andres Cubas. I think Cubas is one of the better defensive midfielders in the league. And I mean, a lot of was talked about when Paraguay was playing Argentina, and how Cubas basically had Messi wanting to throttle him at the end of the match. The same thing happened again during CONCACAF Champions Cup. I don't think that's going to be as much of a thing here. I think what we've seen from Messi is that when he gets angry, he's able to channel that in a way that makes him almost unstoppable these days. So I don't know. There's been a little bit of talk about whether or not we should tell Cubas to just cool it down a little bit too, but we'll have to wait and see what happens.
You mind if I ask Nathan a question about Laborda? Because Laborda used to play for Nacional, the other team that I cover.
Yeah.
How is he received by fans in Vancouver? And is because he's a natural center back. He's not really a left back. So it's interesting that you guys repurposed a defensive midfielder into a center back when you already had Matias Laborda, who's a center back on the roster.
When Laborda came over, it took him a good year to kind of try and figure out what his positioning was. And he had been playing either right back or center back, depending on what was kind of needed at the time. The reason why he's moved over to the left again was Sam Adekube's injury 3 games into the season. We had Tate Johnson. That was the only other left back in the squad. And he's a 19-year-old kid that 6 months before that had been playing college ball. We got him in the super draft. Nobody in their right mind would have expected the number of minutes that Tate Johnson was going to play this year. And I think he's done exceptional for a 19-year-old kid. I think he has played with a maturity that's much greater than what we would normally see of a 19-year-old, especially a defender, where it can be sometimes a bit more of a cerebral position. Matias Laborda is there just simply for the experience. And he has played in that position in those instances also when Tate Johnson has been injured. He is also a guy that right now you cannot take him off the pitch, because when it comes to set pieces, he's lethal. He's one of those guys that's very, very good at getting on the end of set pieces. He's got 4 or 5 goals, I think, from his position, which is a record for him in any MLS season.
All right, gentlemen, I'm going to ask each of you a similar question. Nathan, this one goes to you. Okay.
Right.
What will it take for Inter Miami to beat the Whitecaps?
I don't think Inter Miami is going to change anything about what they do right now. Inter Miami sees themselves as, a diesel train. There's nothing, you put something in front of it and it's going to just, crumple anything that they put up against. I think the Whitecaps can feel reasonably confident that out of any other team in this league that might have a chance against Inter Miami, it is likely to be them. You can talk about the record that they've done so far. You can talk about the fact that they've made 3 different finals of competitions this year. You can talk about what they did with Miami earlier in the season. I don't think they're going to go into this match scared by any means, but they're going to go understanding exactly who their opponent is. I think if anyone is going to have to change their system a little bit, it's going to have to be the Whitecaps, but I think that they're more than capable of doing it. I don't think Miami is going to change anything. They're going to look at any team that comes up in front of them and just say business as usual.
All right, then. Yeah, same for you. What would it take for the Whitecaps to beat Inter Miami and MLS Cup?
For Messi to get a red card in the first 3 minutes. No, but really. No, I think it's gonna take Miami to have a really bad game defensively. We've seen if teams press them, they can be privy to make that mistake in the back line, and if you make a mistake and you make them pay, then that's how you can beat Inter Miami, and that's what it's going to take. It's going to take them to press high, turn the ball over, and find a way to get through the defense early, and punish them early. That's the only way I can see anybody beating Inter Miami is getting them off their game. Even one goal. Let's say they go down 1 goal into the half. I'm still confident that Inter Miami can turn the game around. It would have to put 2 or 3 on them in order to really make me nervous.
The one thing that Vancouver needs to do is get that first goal. If they get that first goal, that's going to be huge for their confidence, because this entire season, they have not lost when they got the first goal. They've either won the majority of the games or they've drawn them. If they get that first one, and that was one of the big things that we were talking about when they're heading down to San Diego. I mean, they did a little bit better. They got 3. That was nice. But if they can get that first one, I think it becomes a very even game.
I agree.
All right, gentlemen, we have a little bit of a surprise for you. We have a lot of good friends of NAG, and we reached out to some of them that have either had their teams play against you guys, and we asked them for their thoughts on MLS Cup and their predictions. So now we're gonna roll the clip with 3 different people offering 3 different takes. So let's go. You can go with either one, Daniel. You can go with Daniel, Jeff, or Tony.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Daniel Adams. You might know me on Twitter or X as LAFC Daniel. Excited to be on this podcast. This is my favorite thing about the Galaxy. Maybe the only thing that I like about the Galaxy. Sorry, I had to do it, right? Anyways, so I'm here to talk about MLS Cup. My prediction, I'm going to go with Inter Miami. Not exactly who I want to win because I'm a CR7 guy, so it's hard to pick Messi in these moments. But when you look at what Inter Miami is doing, they've scored, 13 goals in the last 3 matches. They've given up 1 goal. They benched Suarez. They got some young guys that want to run. All of a sudden, they're not giving up goals. I know Vancouver is a good team stylistically. They want to dictate the game too. It's going to be a good matchup, but it's hard to imagine Vancouver's backline being able to stop Messi and these guys from doing what they want to do. So I'm going to go with a 3-1 Inter Miami in the MLS Cup final. Hey, what's up?
Hey, this is Tony from the Lunacy Podcast, and talking about the MLS final. I guess my thoughts are, kind of figured Miami would be there. And Vancouver, one of the better teams in the West. I think we could have given Vancouver a run for their money in the finals, but we got beat by San Diego. So that's for another time. But my prediction for the finals will be Vancouver victorious. And I think I'm rooting for Vancouver. I think most of my podcast mates probably rooting for Vancouver too, just because they're from the West and nobody wants to see Miami win. So thanks.
Hey, Edgar. This is Jeff Tebbets, host of the Jersey Swap podcast up in Cincinnati. I'm at an undisclosed location on a business trip. So unfortunately, I won't be going to MLS Cup. Neither do I want to, because the 2 times I've been as a Revolution fan, you can guess how those turned out. Neither went my way. So I'm not going to make an official prediction. I am fascinated by this cup because it's the two destinations in MLS are the longest distance between them, 2,801 mile between Vancouver and Miami. So that's a long away trip if you are a Vancouver fan. And congratulations, because I feel Vancouver is going to win this one. I think it's going to disrupt this team of destiny talk that a lot of Miami hopefuls have been preaching about. And I think that Vancouver just has enough in the tank on the bench to push this through. I'm going to call it a close one. I'm going to say 3-2. MVP? Sure, why don't you give it to Brian White? I mean, he scored 2 in this pivotal matchup against San Diego. I think he's going to surprise a lot of people. And I also don't think that Messi's going to score both goals for Miami. So, yeah, I'll say 3-2 Vancouver, and I'll say right away, congratulations, Miami, because my predictions are never right.
Hello there, I'm Bob Ventimiglia from the Designated Pundits, here to talk some Major League Soccer gambling. The first thing I want to run over is the odds. My sportsbook model has Inter Miami with a 61.5% chance of winning, 20.9% chance at a draw, and a 17.6% chance at Vancouver walking away with a win. Knowing that information, we're going to talk a little bit about the game, and I'm going to give 4 picks that I think are going to be really good for you this weekend. First of all, Inter Miami, they are 14-3-3 at home, 5-0 in their last 5 home games, and they're outscoring their opponent 20-3 during those matches. Those are playoff matches too, which you think they're playing higher quality opponents. Those numbers might go down. No, Inter Miami is clicking on all cylinders, so I'm going to pick them to win outright, but we can't bet on it at minus 145. We're not getting enough juice there. So what I do, I always look at the implied probability put down by the sports books. That is, sports books generally want half the bets coming in on one side, half the bets coming in on another side of the bet, and they take whatever, 5%, 10%, depending on the sports book, of whatever's in the middle. So as these lines adjust, as bettors come and bet money, you get better odds, you get worse odds. So right now I'm looking at December 3rd. These odds may change between now and then. But again, whenever I place a bet, I want to look at the odds and the implied probability. That's going to give us the number of the percent chance the sportsbook is assuming that bet is going to happen. And, some of the bets I make on my show are long odds bets. They only have a 20% chance of hitting. And some people will think, well, I don't want to place a 20% chance bet. And that may be true, but one of the biggest forms of gambling in the United States is playing the lottery, where you have almost no chance, but the payout is so high, people play all the time. So we're looking at some bets over plus 100, meaning for every dollar you bet, you win more than $1 back. So all the bets I'm giving today are going to be right around that plus 100 or even higher range, meaning the implied probability is just under 50%. And those are the ones we're going to be looking to hit. Again, don't be afraid to go for some long odds bets. If you have a bet that might only hit 20% of the time, but it pays out 10-1, you're still making money. You're getting a lot of benefit there. So back to the game. I think Inter Miami has this one, and I think they have this one locked away. I found a really good way to bet on them without going minus 145. Again, a minus 145 bet means you need to put $1.45 or $145 to win $100 back or $1 back. So you need to put out more than you're going to get back. Of course, when you win, the initial bet is always refunded. So on a minus 145, you bet $1.45 to cash out at $2.45. Some people like playing those bets. I'm getting a 2.32% chance probability over the implied probability of the sports book. So that's still a good bet, but not what I'm doing. I'm looking at plus 100 or higher. And I found that by Miami, plus 120 to score in both halves. They did that in 80% of their home games this season, and 62% of all games they're scoring in the first and the second half. You're getting that at plus 120, which doesn't seem like great odds, but it's a 45.45% implied probability by the sportsbook. They say, hey, there's only a 45.4% chance that this is going to happen, but it's already happened 80% of the time. I like Vancouver. I like them on defense. I've been underestimating them this whole playoff run, but I don't think they're going to keep Miami out of the net in both halves. Miami plus 120 to score in both halves is the first official play there. From that point, I went and started looking at some player props. Who's the hottest player on Inter Miami? Don't say Messi because that's not it. It's actually Tadeo Allende. Plus 115 to score or assist. That is going to be a fantastic play there. He has 0.46 goals or assists per 90, meaning he's getting just about a goal or assist every other game. The implied probability would show that it should be about plus 117. We're getting plus 115. That's right around where it should be, but that's not taking into account form. 8 goals, 1 assist this postseason. I think he had 7 goals in like the last 3 games. His form is incredible. Again, on the plus 115, you're getting 46.51% implied probability. Does Tadeo Allende have greater than 50% chance? Yeah, I think he has a 60 or 70% chance at putting 1 in net or assisting 1 goal. I think that is a very good play mathematically. That makes sense for us. The next one I want to go is Thomas Mueller, plus 110 to score or assist. He has 1.66 goals and assists per 90. That's over 1. That's happening, and the implied probability of a plus 110 bet is 47.62% of the time. Does Mueller score or assist in this match more than 47% of the time? I think so. So I'm hammering that bet too. I think those are 2 fantastic player props on guys to score, Allende and Mueller, on 2 different teams. So if you maybe disagree with me and think Vancouver is going to get a win, I definitely think Mueller could be a really good bet for you. And lastly, I wanted to take like a game script parlay where I take 2 bets that kind of go together. When Miami wins, both teams score. So I'm taking Miami and both teams to score at plus 159. That is a fantastic price there. You're getting, for every dollar you put down, you get $1.59 back. Loving how that looks. It's a 38.6% implied probability. They're saying Miami wins and both teams score only a third of the time. I don't think that is what's going on here. Miami, they're allowing both teams to score in 75% of their home games. In Vancouver, they're going to bring that down a little bit. They're seeing only both teams to score in 53% of their away matches. But you're getting plus 160 on a bet that's going to happen almost half the time. Now, I do think this is a high-scoring game. I think Miami is going to do what they came to do. I think they're going to win MLS Cup. I've been saying that for a few weeks now. I think that really cements Messi's legacy. That kind of circles back on the goal of bringing him into Major League Soccer was not only to bring eyes and to bring attention to David Beckham's team here, but they want to win MLS Cup, and I think that they are going to take that step. I think it is their turn. I think this actually takes a little pressure off Miami for the next few years. Like, you already won a couple trophies. Now, you did what was expected. And I think that's going to be good for MLS. We can stop talking about them after this game. And Miami to win, both teams to score plus 159. So a brief recap, I took 4 official plays. Miami plus 120 to score in both halves. That is my goal parlay. Then I have Miami and both teams to score plus 159. That is kind of my game script parlay. And 2 players to score or assist. Tadeo Allende at plus 115 and Thomas Mueller at plus 110. 4 official plays. Gentlemen, thank you for having me on. I'll send you a video anytime you need. Have a great weekend, and make sure you subscribe to the Designated Pundit to catch our new content this week. Thanks, guys.
So you guys heard it from 4 different people. Obviously, a lot of people expect Inter Miami to take this match. But it's funny because we had Bob in right there. And just a year ago, me and Bob were sitting where you guys are because we were doing all the rounds. And me and Bob got to know each other really well. We were on Battered Herons. We were here. We were there. We were everywhere. Bob's an amazing guy. And I want to thank everybody who also contributed. Before we shoot it back to you guys, let's talk about the ref report, because today I got word of who's going to be assigned to MLS Cup, and it's a name that lives in infamy among Galaxy fans. You mention his name at night to scare your children so they can go to sleep quicker. It's a name that's whispered in dark alleys, and people start screaming and cussing and then throwing things here in LA. I'm talking about the devil himself, as we know him, Drew Fisher. Fisher is a FIFA-sanctioned referee. He has refereed in the Olympics, the Club World Cup, CONCACAF World Cup qualifiers, and tournaments, including Gold Cup, Nations League, Campeones Cup. He's also participated in the Canadian Premier League, Canadian Championship, the NASL, the Chinese Super League, and one FIFA friendly. And guess what? He's been named the back-to-back MLS Referee of the Year. Since 2012, Fisher has refereed in 231 MLS matches, including the regular season and the playoffs, 11 of these with Inter Miami, for a record of 10 wins, 1 draw, 0 losses, including a record of 6-0-0 at home, spotless. He's also done 21 MLS matches with Vancouver Whitecaps for a record of 8 wins, 8 draws, 5 losses, including 2 wins, 1 draw, and 3 losses away. Fisher's last Inter Miami match was the 4-0 thrashing of SC Cincinnati on the road at TQL Park in the Eastern Conference semifinals, which was on November 23rd. He handed out no cards to either team. Fisher's last Vancouver Whitecaps MLS match was a 3-1 win over Minnesota United on the road at Allianz Field. That was on April 27th. He handed out only 2 yellows to Vancouver. Fisher, who was born in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, has refereed 9 additional Whitecaps matches in the Canadian Championship tournament, which gives the Whitecaps a record of 5 wins, 3 draws, and 1 loss. This includes a Whitecaps 4-2 win in the 2025 final versus Vancouver FC of the Canadian Premier League, which was at BC Place on October 1st. He handed out 4 yellows to Vancouver FC. This is going to be Fisher's 23rd match of 2025, including the regular season and the playoffs. So far, he's handed out 89 yellow cards. Strangely enough, no red cards, for an average of 3.87 yellows per game. He has awarded 7 penalty kicks. And just a reminder that Inter Miami has never lost with Fisher as referee. Nathan, what's with that smile?
We're not going to start now.
He's Canadian, so maybe we can slip him some of the funny money. I don't know. You know what?
Gentlemen, predictions, Nathan?
I don't have any
Daniel?
problem with Fisher. I mean, I know he's been around a lot. I think he's reffed, when you take a look at all the different other competitions on top of MLS, he's reffed Whitecaps matches more than any other club within MLS. We've had him 30 times, like you said. I think when it comes to Whitecaps fans, we basically say anyone but Tim Ford. So it's not Tim Ford, we're happy.
By the way, guys, let's talk about before we get into your predictions. I forgot to ask you availability report, because that's really important. What can you tell us about your players? Is everybody healthy, or do we have anybody who's going to be missing the match? Obviously, with Vancouver, we already know. But Daniel, let's start with you. How's Inter Miami looking heading into this match?
Everybody except for David Ruiz is healthy and should be available for the match. Obviously, David Ruiz is coming back from a surgery he had a few months ago, and he'll be ready for the start of the season. But everybody else should be fully fit and ready to go for Saturday's match.
Nathan?
2 of them I'd already talked about, Sam Adekugbe, Ranko Veselinovic. They're out with season-ending injuries that happened earlier on in the season. We're hoping that they're going to be fine for next season, but there's still a long time to go with both of their individual recoveries. Daniel Rios has been out for quite a while. He's not going to be coming back anytime soon. And Sebastian Schonlau, one of those center backs that we picked up in the offseason from Hamburger. He was the captain of Hamburger, helped get their team promoted back up to the top league, Bundesliga in Germany. When he came over with a bit of an injury and ended up having a setback in his recovery, so he is out. The other guy that is not going to be playing is Bilal Halbouni. He suffered an injury when the Whitecaps ended up having to go down to 9 men against LAFC. He's listed right now at anywhere to a month and a half until he's back ready to go. So.
All right, gentlemen, you've heard from our friends from different podcasts. You heard from Bob, who is a MLS expert analyst. Now let's hear from you guys. What is your prediction for this match? I don't know if you want to talk from the heart or if you want to talk from your mind. Gentlemen, it's up to you. Let's go with Daniel first because they're hosting.
I was going to say, let Daniel go first because his will be practical. Mine is going to be aspirational.
I'm going to go with a clean 3-1. I think Inter Miami has done a fantastic job on defense in the playoffs. I think they'll have another good performance. And, they won't be able to keep Vancouver off the score sheet, but I do think it'll be a 3-1 Miami win, nice and comfortable. And Lionel Messi will be hoisting that trophy in, 72 hours?
I think this is going to go to extra time. That's my hope, is that the Whitecaps can draw this on as long as possible. As long as you can make old legs play longer, you have a chance. So I'm going to go 2-2, finish on penalties.
You just mentioned old legs going longer. Is Mueller going to play the entirety of this match if it goes into extra time there?
Well, here's another question mark we had too, because he came off the LAFC match at the 90th minute when we still had another 30 minutes left to go. There was questions about whether or not he might have done a bit of a hamstring. He ended up playing the next match, but he only played, I think, 68 minutes, if I want to say it correctly. I think he is ready to go for 90 minutes. I just don't know what percentage his body is at for those 90 minutes. But I think, if you're going to take him off, you're going to have to drag him off.
Well, gentlemen, as we start to wrap it up, can you tell people where they can follow you for more coverage on your respective teams, especially leading up to MLS Cup? Let's hear from you guys. Nathan?
Yeah, so I write for the Area 51 Sports Network. You can find all of my articles that follow the Whitecaps, MLS, CPL, the men and women's national teams for Canada, also the Vancouver Rise, who play in the NSL up here as well, our women's national league. I also co-host a podcast, Terminal FC podcast, with my co-host Joshua Ray. You can find us on Spotify, Apple, anywhere you find your podcasts. Check me out at Durec, either on X, Twitter, Blue Sky. It's all the same. And hope to see you.
Daniel?
All right. You can catch me on any social media at Dice El Dani. You can catch me on Battered Herons, on Las Garzas CF, which is a Spanish version of an Inter Miami podcast. And also on This Is Football. That's a personal project that I'm working on. I'm looking forward to the game on Saturday. Good luck to you, Nathan. It's been a fun time sharing the microphone with you, and may the best team win.
And to you as well, Daniel. Very good luck. Thank you.
Gentlemen, everybody, please like, share, and subscribe, whether it's News Across the Galaxy, Terminal City FC, Battered Herons, Las Garzas. But before we head out, gentlemen, I have one more question for you. And think about it deeply. Take your time. We've asked you to speak as journalists, but now I want to ask you as fans, because I cover LA Galaxy, right? And I've been covering them for many years, since '97, and I've seen the team go through some good times, some bad times, and then last year happened, and I can imagine how much I cried in the run up to it, and then at the very end, it was just an incredible feeling. But now I want to ask you guys. You guys are in this position now. What will an MLS Cup victory mean to you personally, and to other fans of your team?
Well, I can tell you personally, for me, I'm going to be going to the game with my son, my 4-year-old son, and he's an absolute soccer maniac already. And so for him to experience, a cup final so young and to be able to do it with him, I'm going to the game as a fan. I got my credential rejected too, Nathan, so don't feel bad about credentials getting rejected. So I'm purely going as a fan. I'll do content outside the stadium and all that, but when I'm in the stadium, it's going to focus on having my son next to me and having a good time with him. So for me, getting to see Inter Miami, the team that I've been watching since before they were Inter Miami, since they were the Miami Fusion, I've been watching this team. It would mean a lot for them to lift the trophy, especially knowing that it's the last game potentially at Chase Stadium, and they're going to close out that stadium and move into Miami Freedom Park as the MLS Cup champions. Hopefully, if we do win, we don't have a colossal breakdown like you guys did this season, Edgar.
Damn, you had to go there, right? But you know what?
I bantered Nathan a little bit. I got to get you a little bit.
At night before I go to sleep, I just pick these up and I roll them around in my hand, and I fall asleep fine.
You
It's
drop
okay.
one, stub your toe.
Yeah, I also have a couple MLS Cup rings, Nathan, that make me feel better. So Nathan, let's hear from you. What is this going to mean for you personally? I know you shared some candid moments with me, telling me how you felt, in the run up to MLS Cup. You see Mueller and his guys lifting a cup. What goes through your mind?
It's greater than the team. This year was the first year of the Northern Super League, which is the professional women's league here in Canada. 6 teams across, and the team that just hoisted the trophy was the Vancouver Rise, co-owned by Greg Kerfoot, who's the majority owner of the Vancouver Whitecaps, majority owner of the Rise. My daughter got to watch this women's team win, and it was a really big moment for her. I was in the booth covering the game as well. It was fantastic to see. If the Whitecaps are able to do this as well, you've got both your men and your women's teams winning their respective leagues, and I think it just really solidifies Vancouver as a soccer hub within Canada. And I think that is something that, especially because we're heading into a World Cup year, Vancouver being a host city and kind of what that means, it's going to start to get the people that live here that might have just been casual fans to become actual, rabid fans that stick with this team, through thick and thin. And I think there's no better compliment when you make lifelong fans because of what you're able to do and what you're able to show them that you can do. If they can do that, I think the Rise have kind of already carried it halfway. It's now up to the Whitecaps to continue that.
Well, folks, we have talked all the talk. We're coming to the end of the midweek shows season, and now we just sit here and we're going to watch what happens on Saturday. Whether you're a fan of LA Galaxy, Inter Miami, Vancouver Whitecaps, or just an MLS sicko, we thank you once again for hanging out with us tonight. My deepest gratitude and respect for everyone that contributed to tonight's episode. Daniel from the Counter Press podcast, Jeff from Cincy Talker Talks, the Jersey Swap podcast, Tony from the Lunacy podcast, and Bob Ventimiglia, my buddy from the Designated Pundits. For me and Bryant and the rest of the News Across the Galaxy crew, we offer our deepest gratitude. Daniel, Nathan, thank you so much for joining us this season and especially tonight. The week leading up to an MLS Cup is a roller coaster of emotions, a mix of frazzled nerves and anxious hope. Enjoy every second of it. We wish you both all the luck we can offer you for MLS Cup 25 as we crown a new champion. And as we always say on our show, keep on nagging and Wu-Tang for life. Let's go.